Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. Hey, welcome to my garden. To be. Jason has got tilled up 5,700 square foot garden this year, and I have no idea where to begin. So the guy tilled it, and then we had the eclipse. We didn't do a lot, kind of enjoyed it. I was really afraid to get to working really hard and accidentally look at the sun. May or may not have been a good thing, because if we would have planted things, then they would have got crooked. It's raining. And it's been raining, and it even got cold. We dropped down to 39 because it rained for 3 days straight after we got it tilled up. It's just been mud ever since. It dried out a little bit, and then it rained again. That's what I'm going to be dealing with this month. Probably the entire month is trying to get things planted in the mud. We are in the bottoms. So we are under the flood line, and we have to wait for everything to dry out. Last year I didn't have a garden, and that is because the year before I couldn't find anybody to till the ground, and so I did it all myself with a shovel. And by the time I got done and got everything planted in the ground, I had worked so hard that I was mad at the garden. So I don't make a lot of sense sometimes. And then the year before that, we had just moved into this property, and we only had a small fall garden. Before we moved here, I had just a tiny kitchen garden for a few years. And before that, we lived deep in the woods, and I had tomatoes in buckets. And I would basically have to move the tomatoes from one spot to another to the sun. You do what you have to for tomatoes. Pretty much everyone I know grows at least tomatoes, if it's the only thing they grow. Instead of hoeing everything into rows, I'm having to shovel the mud. And I'm just taking it one bed at a time. I've got corn and beans planted, and tomatoes, and a few flowers and herbs, and onions. I have some onion sets planted. The onions are the only thing that we are not growing from seed. I've got a small kitchen garden up by the house that I have a few things that I've bought from the store. I have about $30 in seeds from this year, and then I had quite a collection of seeds from before, and I'm curious to see what I can do with what I've got. This is my gardening dress. It will probably be what you see me mostly in for the next few months. If I make a lot of videos, they'll probably be different than what you've seen before. I haven't really decided to niche down or take much of the YouTube advice, because this is just something I'm doing for fun. And I hope that you're watching it for fun. So I don't have a lot of help. And what I'm doing so far is I'm rolling my wagon through the mud to make the rows. The lines for the rows. And then I'm just shoveling it out. Hopefully I can winter over the beds this year and get things in the ground next year much earlier. Let me show you where I'm at. So far, I've separated the garden off into a couple different sections to make it less overwhelming. I've got corn and beans planted right here, and it will go all the way down. I'm going to succession plant. So some things I will get in the ground right now, and some things I'll wait until next month to get in the ground. Tomatoes on this row with some herbs and marigolds sown in there too. I've got a few onion sets at the beginning of this row, and then it's been mud ever since, and everything is muddy, and I'm having to pretty much turn it all over with a shovel anyway. And I've got a couple rows done that way, and then I still haven't shoveled out several rows. I've only got 6 rows shoveled out. Got it sectioned off. So this will primarily be the summer garden in the back, and then this will be spring, summer, and fall. Probably mostly spring and fall. And then my plan is to have flowers and herbs all the way around. But right now I'm in the mud. It has finally started to dry out a little. You are not supposed to plant in the mud, but I did anyway because, well, it was hurting me. It was hurting me not to. It was hurting my tiny little heart, and I was very sad, and it made me happy to plant anyway. So that's what I did, and I will probably have to come and redo all that, but I'm fine with that. I'm in the process of making raised rows, and I'm probably gonna have to, when I finally get to the edge, to the end back here, I'll probably have to come and redo the first 3 rows that I planted in the mud anyway. But everything is finally starting to dry out, and I'm basically having to retill it by hand now. I'll show you. Here's what I've been working on this row, and I'm just going through and I'm trying to get all the clumps, but I've been trying to break it up with this shovel. And then with the rake, and then by hand. I've almost got this row ready to plant. I'm gonna plant, I've got some eggplants, and I think I'm gonna do eggplants and green beans, or purple green beans. And then I've still got to break this one up. It is really hard mud now, but it's starting to dry out. And I still have to make the rows and everything else. Okay, so I've got these tiny little baby eggplants, and I'm about to put some of them in the ground. And I'm gonna cover it up with just some potting soil so that I can see where I've planted the bean. Jason's been trying to help me a little bit digging out the rows because it's been kind of tough because it's all mud now, and I can't hoe the rows. I have to shovel them now. And even when it dries out, it rained so hard and so much for so long that it's just compacted right back down. So I'm not gonna get in a big hurry with the garden because this is gonna be my forever garden. And so hopefully I can just focus on getting the rows done this year and draining really well. And next spring, I'll be able to have a spring garden, because spring and fall gardens are pretty hard here because of all the water. So I have a thrifting video that I haven't edited yet. And then I've got dishes that you guys have never seen, believe it or not. So I have a few things coming up in my monthly videos, but in addition, I think I'm gonna start a weekly garden vlog to keep you guys posted and to keep myself posted about all the progress. Y'all have a good one.